So welcome to our next ARC Power User Conversation. We are super excited to be talking with a world-leading team from Spain, talking to us about an existing building project that has been done with support from Savills and a world-class set of architects, engineers, and technology providers. We are going to hear their story this morning in their own voice. And so we want to start this conversation by running around and telling you who we have on the phone line. And so we are going to start with Antonio. And Antonio, please tell us about yourself and your role in this project.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Antonio. I'm a consultant here at Savills in the Spanish branch of Savills, Savills Aguirre Newman. And we are in the property management department and in the sustainability team. So my role and the role of my team in this project that we are so lucky to have been part of has been basically lead consultants. So we have helped them to achieve the initial target that was very high, and hopefully with this amazing team, we managed to reach an outstanding result that we are so proud of. So thank you for having me, Chris.
Awesome. We're going to come back and hear more about you and your portfolio in a second. So Luis, and please, why don't you start in and tell us a little bit about your project team and yourself and your project team.
Fine. Well, thank you, Chris. In fact, I'm an architect. I had been working for several years in energy efficiency with the owner of this building. When the building was bought, it was a very obsolete building built in the 90s. And both working as a team from the beginning, the owner, Fernández Molina Construction Company, and our architectural office, we decided that it was a fantastic opportunity to introduce in all the deepness our energy efficiency concept now that we'll explain later on. Resulting from this project, we founded a company that's now 12 years old, Eneres, devoted to integral services in energy efficiency, taking taking as a principle now the basic natural principles of complexity and low exergy buildings. In Eneres, we integrated a transversal team, a multidisciplinary team that's led into the technical area by Rossana, that's here also with us. And we integrate a wide network of professionals that with which we can confront in a very particular way turnkey energy efficiency and retrofit projects.
Awesome. That's very exciting. It's embedded in such a rich story. Rossana, why don't you pick up your side of that? So what is your role? What is your background that you bring into this project?
Hello, everyone. And I'm Rossana from Eneres, and I'm an Italian architect and engineer. And in our company, in our project, I use modeling and simulating tools to integrate all the experience of our team, of a multidisciplinary team. And in Apolonio, I work in the energy management of this building, which is a very complex architectural system that needs to be managed to achieve high levels of comfort and energy efficiency.
Awesome. That sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to digging more into that. So Parag, you are the last member. You are familiar to the ARC Power User community, but please introduce yourself and your role at Arbanco.
Right. So my name is Parag Rastogi, and I'm a product manager at Arbanco. And specifically, the product that I manage is our wellness monitoring product. So indoor environment quality in buildings. We're especially excited about all things ARC and existing buildings, and especially LEED v4.1 O&M, because for the first time, we are trying to measure how buildings actually perform rather than how they were intended to perform. And of all the measurements that ARC takes, of course, I personally am most excited about the human experience side of things. So yeah, glad to be part of a very innovative project and to be part of this briefing. Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Fantastic. We're always grateful to have Parag, and there's other Parag content on the YouTube channel. So look around, you're going to find that there. All right, so let's go to the big picture. So Antonio, talk to us, for folks who may or may not be familiar with Savills. Give us a little bit of a company profile. Tell us what you guys do, and tell us how sustainability fits in. What are you trying to accomplish? Why are you trying to accomplish it? Talk to us a little bit about that part of the business.
Hi, Chris. Thank you again for the opportunity. We are, as I mentioned, we are a Spanish company that originally was founded in the UK in 1855, and we have over 30 years of experience here in Spain. And here in Spain, we are 500 people, while in world, we are 39,000. So, I mean, we are quite a lot. And some of them, well, we are into the sustainability issues, because we see that there is a growing need of the market, as well as importance in this aspect. So that's why we are seeing from clients the need to embrace this journey to the sustainability.
Awesome. So I'm going to jump in one real quick question about that. Is saying, so obviously you guys have been around as a company a long time. And so why now? What are the critical drivers that are, is this just a long-term trend that you're riding on top of, or is something different about the last several years that is when it comes to sustainability and ESG from the point of view of your business? Do you feel a change in that? Yeah,
I mean, that's a very interesting question, and I'm happy to try to answer these difficult actually questions. Because at the end, we see that during the last few years, the world is really shifting towards a new perspective and a new perception of how to approach. Well, we are in the real estate sector that, as you know, we are responsible for the 40% of carbon emission in the EU at least, but the world is similar. So yeah, we are in a very strong position, and we need to act. Because at the end, we see that, for example, regarding ESG, we have the SFDR, which is the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, that not only is environmental sustainability, but also is social and governance sustainability, which are aspects really interesting that we see, for example, in GRESB, that I see that ARC is connected with GRESB, and it's amazing because they are all tools that together hopefully will drive to a more sustainable world. So yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So one last question before we jump into the project team for a second. So where does third-party recognition fit in? Like how do you use it? How do you think about it? What value does it bring to a project team? What's the point?
Well, thank you again for the question, because I mean, third-party recognitions is like for us a tool and an instrument that we use to, at the end, achieve the goal, which is the same goal. And rating systems are only instruments that help, especially clients, to be aware of the real importance of sustainability. So when we say to a third party, well, we are ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 certified consultants, but also we apply sustainability. Well, starting from our company, we have a LEED Gold certified headquarters here in Madrid, but also to our client, because at the end we want to let them know the importance of these aspects. And starting from a portfolio level with GRESB, that takes into account management component of a company, to performance of assets, that here ARC, I mean, is the key, because at the end we see that through performance monitoring, well, is the real first step to achieve hopefully net zero carbon world, which is the final objective for everyone.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for that. That's really thoughtful. let's dive deeper with the project team. So Luis and Rossana, let's talk about we're here to talk about a particular act of leadership. As Antonio said, at the end of the day, we're going to go from companies to superior assets that they own. This is a superior asset. Luis or Rossana, could you talk to us about this project? Give us a sense of size, scale, function, and its purpose, and then we can dive a little deeper into its specific attributes for sustainability performance. Perhaps, Luis, would you like to go first and give us a little thumbnail about what is this project and what does it represent?
Perfect. This project was from the beginning the opportunity for us as consultants and our client, Fernández Molina, that in fact we already had been a team constructing for the public administration in Spain several efficient buildings to put into practice an idea that was that efficiency is not a product, but is a service. Efficiency relates to behavior. Kids are not good if they look good. If they are well dressed, they are good if they behave good. And they behave good if their parents keep them every day under their eyes and they lead them to efficiency in their behavior. So, you know, it's like a parental attitude towards construction and service. So when Fernández Molina, that was located in a very old building in the middle of the central Madrid, close to the Royal Palace, with an old structure, 40 years old, and an old organization, found this building that was completely obsolete, as I pointed before, from not only from the energy relationship that it had with the surrounding areas, but also functionally, and ergonomically and physically. The building was an asset that was completely obsolete, but it has an aptitude to be recovered, and it has 80% of its mass it was possible to recover it, no? So we said, let's go on, let's go to the deep sense of it, no? And to the balance, to this complex balance between economy, performance, and service for a long time, no? We made this building as an integral retrofit, full retrofit, looking very much into the integration of complexity regarding bioclimatics, transfer and absorption of energy systems, storage, production, recovery of energy, and control. That puts into this kind of view that has a lot of to be with low exergy building practices that were developed and studied in the States in the 70s and the 80s, has very much to do with ecological and biological basic principles. That's the integration of construction and anatomy with information systems and data capture and strategy. Strategy is the natural logic of efficiency, but you cannot have it. You have an information structure and you don't have a basic technological construction and physiology that allows you to reconfigure the building depending of the strategies you are using, no? So that leads us directly to Aramco in the sensoring and data management and capture of information. That leads us to Savills as someone that has helped us to find our place in the certification area. When we made this building, as it was not conceived as an extraordinary building for core and shell, we were not able to certify it in the highest level. We are talking a building that was conceived 13 years ago. And as Antonio has said, it changed a lot. At that time, we thought in these basic principles that are principles that have no time. They are universal, old principles that we recover now, no? And they come from a very humanistic tradition about the human factors of efficiency involved in the basic economy of means. And that has a lot to do in nature with the management, simultaneous management of energy and information. This is how nature is efficient, managing energy and information at the same time with strategy. And so this is the basis. And this was the basis, and it was focused to service, because we, both companies, Eneres and the owners, Fernández Molina, we work there. It's our site. And as it is, all this experience has also been very experimental experience. We have, during these 10 years, we have changed a lot of things, we have modified a lot of things, we have tested a lot of things, and we have done a lot of projects for our clients where we do not have the opportunity of making experiments. So for them, things have to be performing, clear, and you cannot make as much test and innovation as you do in your own building. That also shows you that our face is a little kaleidoscopic now. We are consultants, we are engineers, we are architects, we are constructors, we are also people that work with universities, we are in the academy, and we are also in research. And you know, Apolonio Morales has found through Savills and through Aramco a very interesting place in this behavior world of operation and maintenance with existing buildings. Is the outfit that looks well in Apolonio. 13 years we have found our.
I love it. What a powerful vision and journey. It's an incredible journey. So maybe we'll pick up from where Luis, I want to bring Rossana into this conversation. Clearly, you outlined some incredibly ambitious and long-term goals. Rossana, what were some of the technical sustainability challenges that you dealt with using your computational tools and modeling? What were some of the challenges you faced, and what are some of the things that you think are notable aspects of this project?
Yes, during Apolonio Morales' life cycle, after the design and the construction of this building, we have continually monitored its performance and the effects of its continuous transformation. In recent years, we achieved significant energy savings and cost savings, applying appropriate solutions of appropriate solution control strategies, corrective actions, and the building during its life cycle, the building has been a field of continuous improvements. For example, energy exchange with wastewater has been introduced, giving rise to a hybrid system which includes geothermal collection and groundwater recovery for irrigation and urinals. We also installed, last year, we also installed charging stations for electric vehicles to meet the employees' demand and to promote sustainable transport models. And Fernández Molina, that is the owner and the main user of this building, has been an exemplary customer in promoting the comprehensive rehabilitation retrofitting of the building, and is supporting Eneres in a constant policy of critical analysis and improvement. And thanks to this direct interaction with the owner, we can use this building as a laboratory to experiment solutions and improve its performance. And this helps us to maintain high efficiency levels by a continuous process of monitoring, correction, and improvement in all aspects relating to energy, waste, water, transport, human conditions, and we think that that's the added value that enabled us to achieve a LEED Platinum certification under the operation and maintenance for existing building rating system with an excellent outcome.
That's fantastic. Let me dive deeper. There's so many things to unpack. The technologies, the achievement in doing that. Can you say a little bit, did something surprise, I mean, and it's also exemplary that you're able to work across the life cycle through over so much time. Has something, can you point to something that surprised you as a technical analyst in this project to say, hey, I didn't expect this to go that way? You've had a lot of experience with different technologies and different design strategies. What is there one particular thing that, as you look back at the project, where whether it was positive or lessons learned, what surprised you about this project?
Yes, over the last few years, Eneres has extended the main principles of Apolonio Morales building to many other projects, but which have placed our company as a unique brand in an emerging market for energy efficiency and building retrofitting, also in academic forums and educational fields. And with respect to Apolonio Morales building, the architectural conception for efficiency and sustainability of this building was inspired by standards of excellence already in place in other countries, in other European countries, but not in Spain. And 13 years after its conception and design, Apolonio Morales has converged with a new certification framework, LEED V4.1 operation and maintenance for existing buildings, which today recognizes factors and performances that 10 years ago were still not considered in many fields of certification and sustainability rating systems. And
awesome. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And Apolonio Morales, the openness of the building management system allowed the implementation of Pretorhouse sensors and devices for the monitoring of the operating parameters. And we collect this information, as Luis said, we collect this information and process data and analyze trends to identify abnormal peaks, energy waste, and assess the efficiency of the prevention strategies we apply. So we, this building has to a lot that we can apply to other projects.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, maybe, but Luis, yeah, please go ahead. And before we turn to Parag, please add your voice to that.
Luis, you were asking what has surprised us, no? We have something that surprised us, no? Well, let's say Spain and Madrid is a fantastic field for energy efficiency. We live in a continental Mediterranean climate, so buildings are not evidently supposed to be and bioclimatic condition, and also looking inwards to their relationship with users. If we think about buildings as an interface between outside and inside, and our role is working with people, not with buildings, through buildings, but not with buildings. The point is that the surprising thing in this project was that our bioclimatic conception for the retrofit of all the envelope of the building and the strategies of night cooling, self-cooling, ventilation, etc., were enhanced by our first full experience on hydronic systems, thermo-activated building systems regarding the recovered slabs and the interaction with geothermal exchange. In fact, there is a lot of inertia playing in this building that is not in the envelope, that is more exchange surface and more open, as Mediterranean buildings are supposed to be in terms of relation of the climate. But it has an enormous capability of managing energy through storage and giving high quality, low intensity, long time energy to users with slabs that are charged with energy and storing it when we have a lot of energy in summer, we can store it through geothermal exchange in the underground. This geothermal exchanger was taking advantage of the construction of a compact semi-automatic mechanical parking in the backyard of the building that allows us to recover space for people and to put cars underground with a very simple mechanical system that, being underground, its structure has been activated as an exchanger. So this experience with inertia is a very powerful mean if you use it correctly. If you go to the deepest sense of exchange with inertial means, it has surprised us, as you asked, for its perfect behavior. It has overcome our expectations, in terms of quality. It's a powerful ally inertia and thermal mass. No? So thermal mass integrated with bioclimatics have been a good surprise. The other good surprise has been changing absolutely the behavior of users, changing the way they work, the way they use the space, their ergonomic relationship with light, the rheologic relationship with light, the relationship with open space, with air, and with the people that their colleagues. Things have absolutely changed in the way of performing of the company. This is something important because the biggest asset of the company, the biggest expense also of the company is people. It's not the building, it's not energy, it's the people. And there has been an enormous improvement. You know? I think that also LEED has been a surprise, this last version of LEED, taking into account that it widens the perspective of sustainability and flow through the building to waste management, income, and everything. No? So it's a comprehensive methodology that we not only take as the opportunity to show others how performant we are, but also to improve through the certification our methodology respecting future projects.
Oh, I love that. I love your vision. It's such an elegant version of thermal, the use of the exchange and the fluidity and the use of storage in simultaneously kind of very much fitting with that Mediterranean landscape and the climate, the bioclimatic, but also being incredibly relevant to dealing with our intermittent grid and changes in energy supply around the world. So it's very timeless, actually. So Parag, we're going to bring you into this because everything Luis said about using the building to interact with its occupants sets you up for things that you I know are passionate about. So can you talk a little bit about, well, first, let's make sure that, who are, what did you guys do in this project and how does this fit with some of the themes that Luis and Rossana brought into the conversation earlier?
Right. So maybe I'll start with that part of the context, right? So, when we heard just now about how the building comes from, has a client, there's a client in this project who's interested and who's forward looking. And then, of course, you have the architects. So that's Luis and engineering team, Rossana and Antonio, that are interested in the human and bioclimatic and sustainability aspects. What we bring to the team is, frankly, I mean, it's a very small portion, but I think it's very important to demonstrate how these intentions actually play out in the real world. And, in this case, we brought the technology to measure the human experience. And, over time, this technology will evolve. So the sensors become more reliable, they become more economical, and they measure more things, and they improve over time. But the fundamental ideas that this project has of putting the human being at the center, using existing resources, playing with the climate rather than against the climate, these are irreplaceable with technology. Technology comes and goes. And today I offer you sensors of one sort or the other, and tomorrow we'll have sensors of some other sort or the other. And then LEED will, instead of measuring this gas, will start measuring another gas. But at the end of the day, the intention of this project was what made this project successful. And we were very happy to work with Rossana on site and Antonio on site to actually work through the practicalities of installing sensing, which is not trivial in an existing environment where people are already working, people are used to work a certain way. And of course, in an ideal world, I would want to cover every inch of the wall with a sensor. That's not going to happen. I don't think it's even realistic or even desirable to have that for every little square centimeter of concrete to pick back a bit of a signal saying I am charged to this level or not. But what we have makes a lot of sense. And I'd especially like to highlight the fact that now in LEED, and especially with our technology solutions, you can also poll the customer, the actual occupants of the building. Because while it's very, very useful to know what the CO2 level, the TVOC level, and so on, the temperature and everything are, what's more important, certainly more important, is do the people actually like living and working in that building? What's the point of energy efficiency if people absolutely hate your building? So yeah, that I think, while we bring a technologically important component that enables the building to be better operated and eventually to demonstrate for the purpose of LEED that, at the end of the day, we do need objective data. That technological component only has meaning in the context of forward-looking architectural design and engineering and operation.
So, Parag, just to have you elaborate for a second, there are distinct challenges for sensing the indoor environment, particularly, as you said, of an existing building. Can you comment a little bit on this project? How did you design where to put sensors, or how many to put, or like what was your thought process, and how did you work with the team to optimize that? Can you just speak a little bit and give us a little vignette of the thought process you went through in developing your deployment and in consultation with the team?
Right. I'd like to pretend it was an extremely scientific and rigorous process. I don't think that would be a good thing to say. And in fact, actually, something I've learned from developing this product and managing it over the last 3 years is what you need to achieve is something that's actually practically applicable in a building rather than what is mathematically optimized. So the process involved a lot of face time with Rossana, because obviously, as all of you know, we couldn't actually travel to Spain this past year for some reason. So there was no way we could go on site. So we had
there was something going on. There was some health issue. Yeah. I've heard about it.
We couldn't get on a flight and go to Spain, as much as I would have liked to be in Spain this past winter, but that wasn't happening. And so we had first understood the requirements of the project. What are you actually trying to achieve? And what's the period in which you want to achieve it? And how long do you want this to go on for, and so on? Then, of course, speak to the team and get their inputs on what the actual layout and working style of the place is, and then figure out how to start. Because as much as enthusiastic as I am about sensing, I'm also aware of the fact that if I dump 1,000 sensors on a person who's never used a sensor before, that's going to overwhelm them, and they'll never want to see a sensor as long as they live. So we started with a small number of sensors, which is appropriate for the size of the building. The building is not massive. It's a relatively small number of people, especially mindful of the fact that during the pandemic, the occupancy has been reduced. And that's one of the things that we at Arbanco are quite keen on, is we're not fundamentally measuring space. We're measuring the space that people use. We're measuring what people perceive in a space. So if you have a corridor that's very long and not really used for something, I couldn't be bothered measuring it, right? That's the indoor environment quality is not so interesting there. Of course, there are lots of technical components that are interesting. So after setting the goals, we then decided the appropriate level of technology and the technological intervention. Then we went into details like, well, how do we communicate? Do we want to use on-site Wi-Fi? Do you want to install a gateway and all that stuff? But that comes down several levels down. And finally, the placement, we fall back on what we think are reasonable rules of thumb for measuring air in a reasonably rigorous way. And those rules of thumb have to be flexible enough to accommodate different construction types, different materials, different use cases. And of course, while all buildings are unique, there are variations in a theme. So you will always have a conference room, and you will have an individual office and a group office and so on. So we were able to exploit that, our knowledge of working with office spaces and workspaces and combined work, different kinds of working environments, to then offer a sort of rubric or a template for the site team, who could then make their own judgment call at the end of the day using a framework, like where the stuff goes. And and then of course zooming down to the very detail is, we just work off a standardized sort of best practice guide on how to mount the sensors, which sounds like a trivial point, but as you know, Chris, that can dramatically change the readings that a sensor will give if you have incorrect mounting.
It is an incredibly rich process, and one that it's great to hear that collaboration between you and Rossana to basically, in a very practical way, figure that stuff out. And I know, just to kind of promote, I know, Parag, you can go on for a long time about the nuances and value of distributed sensing, and I would encourage folks, Right adjacent to this video in the YouTube channel is a longer form discussion that you gave about the value of distributed sensing, and it's really a nice piece that really shows what you get from going from, say, once a year sampling to something more. So I would encourage folks to check that out as a supplement to this. And so let's zoom back out. We're gonna start coming toward the end of our time soon, and so I want to kind of talk big picture. So first off, let's talk about what this project tells us about the kind of forward pipeline of your work. Like where does this work take you? I want to take us back to Antonio, and we're gonna go through the panel one more time with two different kinds of thoughts. One is, what does this project mean for your work going forward? What are the themes that you're going to take into your subsequent projects? And what is it? Is this indicative of work you're doing now that you anticipate doing in the future? So, Antonio, let's go back to you. What does this project say about your future? How does it inform or contribute or say something about the pipeline of work that you have in the near future?
Well, I mean, first of all, it was really interesting to listen to all of you, because I mean, so many points to discuss for a long time, but we have to be short. So, I mean, it's clear that the need of the real estate sector is to be more sustainable. How can we do this? Well, sustainability rating systems can help us to push our expectation, no, to improve. So, how can we do it? Through performance monitoring, and performance monitoring starts with sensors and monitoring on site. So what we learn is that the need to starting with a monitoring system on site that can improve performance, and at the end that all the strategies are related to a more sustainable, not only performance but component of an entire portfolio.
Awesome. That is a great takeaway. That's certainly one we share. So thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. Luis, you have been, this project, as you conveyed, represents a decade plus journey with sustainability. What are you taking forward into the projects you're working on now in the near future from this project, or what's the relationship? What are you building on?
Absolutely. Well, yes. During these 13 years, we have been applying the lessons that we have dynamically learned from this building in the new projects. But now, as Antonio pointed, and as you know, the wave is coming. No? We have been swimming for a long time, and the wave was not coming. No? Now the wave comes, and we are already swimming. No? So all this experience is being applied now with a lot of strength. Spain is not the first country in Europe to apply this kind of principles, but as I told you, it's a land of opportunity due to its geographical and climatic potential. No? So now, now they are asking us. We have a lot of work with consultants, with architects, with authorities, with administrations that come with buildings that have been built during the last 60 years, and they have to upgrade them. And now upgrading a building today is not like upgrading a building 20 years ago, where some isolation and some photovoltaic panels made sense to this kind of voluntarist greenwashing of buildings. No? Now things go deeper, no? And Europe needs deeper acting, and Europe injects funds for private and public in Spain, so people are incentivized to go there. And so we have been swimming a long time, and now we have a surfboard. We have a surfboard that is got by Parag, by Antonio, and we get into these kind of things to surf things and not only swim. No? And there's a lot of work that's coming from different scale projects. From we work also in landscape projects, urban projects, retrofit projects. But if I am happy to say something, that is that the recovery and of existing actives and assets and buildings and cities, recovery of all those materials and investments that can be recovered and reused, no, and to give them a new sense of usable things for the future is something that's beginning to be active. Thinking into the life cycle of buildings. And the lessons that we have taken out of this building and of its sequels, no, and of the research project that we have been doing and we still do on this building, are directly we can directly apply them to our pipeline of projects now. And what's coming requires, and you know, there are a lot of technological tools already made, but the goal of our company, I think our value is that we are integrators of resources, and through integration we innovate in new tools, because tools for efficiency are as different as situations, buildings, and clients are, no? And we have to customize all the time through methodology and integration. Some basic principles like systemic view, etc., are a very useful and powerful tool for this kind of attitude.
Yes,
oh, that's fantastic. I mean, that's so compelling. Rossana, please tell us about, pick that up.
Don't worry. As Luis said, we use our building as a laboratory to learn, to explore new technologies and operation strategies to replicate to our projects. And at the same time, LEED O+M certification process has enabled us to enhance our methodology with the integration of other important concepts of internal building operation, in which the role of the user is very important, is fundamental. We think that it's important for the user to be aware of sustainability issues. And Fernández Molina, as the owner and the main user of the building, excelled in advancing the LEED certification for the building and in committing to apply an efficient maintenance policy to observe a standard for the future. And with this new consolidated model, Eneres, our company, has incorporated a multidimensional philosophy of building management and maintenance, which we consider extensible to other building projects.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, there's so many, that's exactly the kind of insights that's kind of exciting to see that the tools kind of flow forward, right? And then, okay, let's end this on the very big picture. And what many of you have spoken about the challenge in Europe and around the world of meeting our climate targets, of raising the quality of our building stock. And so, where do you see this? Do you hope? Let's look forward 3 to 5 years. That's a long time. But at some of the trends that are shaping, do you think we're going to look back at this project and think, hey, this is indicative of many more projects that are meeting our collective goals for Paris, or that are contributing to the Green Deal, or that are fitting within the EU finance taxonomy, or these kind of big picture? Like, is this project, where does it kind of fit in? Are we going to look back and go, it was a baby step, or we're going to look back and say there were thousands more like it? Antonio, let's go to you first. So where does this project fit in with the arc of the marketplace? You've alluded to this before, but why don't you tell us just a little bit more to close out about where you think the market is going in the bigger picture, that 3 to 5 year picture?
Well, I'm very optimistic as a person, so the answer is easy. I mean, it's clear that we are growing very fast. I know that LEED was born in the US and you are based in the US, but we have also to say that here in the EU, Spain is growing very fast in this way. We have almost 1,000 buildings registered under LEED certification, and the half is already certified. So it's incredible, the journey that we are doing. And there are so many other rating systems with focus on health and safety, like or digital infrastructure. There are so many rating systems. And I really hope, and I'm sure, that this will be the road that you need to follow, and the path that we have to follow to achieve like a real estate stock. It is not like now, but it's really focused in the future, where, let's say, we live better, because as Parag was saying, I mean, we need buildings where we are good at. We are building when we feel okay in working in. So that's the point, but without forgetting the carbon emission. We need to cut
I totally get it.
the carbon footprint.
One thing you said, Antonio, that I'll just resonate before going to Luis and Rossana and Parag, that the one thing you said there is that, we really see this in our day-to-day practice, the shift toward the portfolio engagement, essentially thinking about the portfolio, prioritizing within the portfolio, and making deliberate year-on-year, sort of working through the portfolio. And I know that for me, when I look back a decade ago with Green Building, we were really focused on exemplary single projects. Now those exemplary single projects fit within an entire portfolio that is moving down the road. And it sounds like that is part of the Savills experience as well, which is exciting to hear that.
Exactly. I mean, that's very simple, because at the end, it's not only regulatory that you need to stay in this way, that you need to be green, let's say, but it's from an investor point of view. I mean, investors only invest in real estate stock that is green, that is sustainable, and where they see in 10 years that will be up to date, that will be buildings that can be used. Because at the end, if you invest in a building that in 5 years it must be abandoned because it's out of date, then no sense to it. So yeah, we see a really strong shift from the investors, and at the end, money is what drives the market. But luckily, in this sense, money are green. So good.
All right, so Luis, let's turn to you. Let's get on top of your surfboard. So you're on that surfboard, you're surfing this wave. Does Antonio's vision for the market evolution, does that resonate with you? Do you see something similar or related to what he described?
I see something similar, but of course I have a complementary point of view. No, same place, so it's difficult to have the same perspective. No, but in fact I agree with Antonio about the positive dynamics of things. I agree with you, Chris, that it's the moment when we begin to think that we have already done pilot projects and exemplary single projects, and that things have to spread generally, that we are talking about things that can be done for regular users, for regular stakeholders, and that this kind of projects is not extraordinary, it's not experimental. There are things that have been tested and checked for years. They work, and what you have to do is work on the integration, on the proper integration in every case. No? I think that the compromise of the investors' point of view, as Antonio says, is clear. They don't want to invest in buildings or assets that are not have not a future and a certain way forward, regarding sustainability and also good work conditions, no? Because as I say, from the studies that have been done in the United States, mostly McGraw-Hill, etc., on certificated buildings, the biggest improvement is in the quality of the environmental quality that push forward the intellectual capabilities and the reduction of absenteeism in the workforce. No, the people working better, concentrating better, and producing better, and creating better. No? And of course, I agree also with Parag. I don't want to extend me too much. Separating the air from the thermal strategy is fundamental. Air quality has not to be a slave of thermal strategy. The first point, this put into Parag's side the control of many subtle parameters about air quality, and ambiental healthiness, And I think that, and also Rossana has pointed something important. I agree with Antonio. Investors want to invest in buildings that work well, but I go back to the children that behave well. The compromise of the user, of the owner, has to be to keep the building working well. And new LEED certifications have to be renovated. You have to demonstrate every year to keep doing well. And this is very important now. This is a compromise that in Spain has a long way to be developed because people think about building as products. I build my product, I sell it, and I get rid of it. No? But now the owner and the operator has a full compromise on sustainability. They will see that it brings back benefits, but now they have to notice it. No, they have to see that it's not only a market demand that is coming stronger and stronger from abroad, but also because I think that many of our investors are foreigners, and they are bringing in Spain a culture of sustainability and a culture of efficiency, mostly in office buildings. No? And so we have to develop this concern for life cycle and long time sustainability kept in this protective attitude that a father has or a mother with their sons. No? They have to keep their buildings well and their users well on time and online. No?
Oh, I love that. All right, so Rossana, pick that up and you take that into your side of the thing. I love that life cycle. I love the dynamism. What do you see? What's your vision looking a couple of years down the road, or as this scales up?
Yes, there is. It's important to maintain continuous monitoring and improvement of the building. The building we cannot construct or design building to leave them to their future, but it's important to maintain a constant policy of maintenance of and improvement. And I think that the rating system, the sustainability rating system can help the customers to do that, because they set the guidelines to maintain high sustainability and efficiency standards in buildings and in human conditions, in human experience inside them.
I love that. I mean, I think it's what you and Luisa both said is so powerful about saying, hey, this is something that, buildings are living systems, and we're going to need to, it is a reality that we need to measure them and improve them throughout their life cycle. And you guys have both expressed that in different ways. And I think the more that we can convey that buildings are not like a static, as Luis said, a product that is simply done, and you can shrink wrap it and put it in a box and put it on a shelf, and that our product is different. I think you've both articulated that very strongly. And Parag, all right, we're going to come to you. We're coming down to the finish line here. We need a big finish. I'm guessing you're going to say, wait a second. We don't need these sensors. We don't need measurement, because everything works right the first time and people are always happy. So is this how this is going to go, or no? Maybe 100%. You see something different that's going to close this out.
100%. No mistakes have ever been made between the architectural drawing and the as construction, of course.
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware that ever happened.
Never happened before. But what's interesting is I'll maybe start with a very mild criticism of LEED, right? And I think one of that criticism is that we need to have, we think that technology responds to our needs, but sometimes technology also creates needs. It's sort of a two-way relationship with technology. And to take just one aspect, what I was talking about earlier about measurement, and I think we need to move into a paradigm where we stop prioritizing short-term or on the spot checks of just saying, well, you walk in once, you turn on all the ventilation, it's all great, and then you just check and you tell me once a year you're good to go. I'm aware of that of course the technology has to catch up. Right? So you can make all the metrics you want, but if there's no way to actually measure them or prove them, what was the point? I think there is a sort of these two, in an ideal world, these would move perfectly in tandem. LEED would write a new standard and there would be a provider that would say, here you go, meet it. You can meet it in this manner. That's not how reality works out. So I think, based on what Antonio and Luis and Rossana were saying earlier, it is going to be, the challenge is going to be to scale all of these metrics and technologies at a portfolio level, right? I know we've said that the building itself is not something a shrink wrap, put in a box and then send to a person, but the technologies for measuring and enabling the indoor environment have to be shrink wrappable, put in a box, mail to somebody, and then they can sort of just open it up, install it, and of course, with some level of thought process going into it, but as sort of robust as possible, we can make those technologies. The better our requirement would be. And to me, what's amazing is that there's such a clear parallel between what you said about we focus for so long on exemplar buildings and getting them exactly right, and we neglected this long and heavy tail of buildings we actually use on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And I think sensor technology has a similar problem. We have focused for a very long time on getting the second decimal point exactly right, and making sure that every measurement we take is perfect, and training people to do it and everything. And all of that is great. I'm not criticizing health and safety measurements by any means. They're very important. But we need to also develop this other technology for the long and heavy tail of buildings where we actually live and work, and where we live and work every day, and which need to be optimal every day. They can't just be optimal for that one measurement we make once a year.
Yep. You obviously, I'm in the tank for this, and that notion that there's so many truths in that, and maybe that's a great place to leave it. It's saying the years ahead working on that, as you described it, that long and heavy tail. I think that's what Luis was describing as that legacy set of buildings, and as Rossana told us about how we're going to need this commitment to continuous improvement. And Antonio was saying, hey, this is about meeting our collective goals for Paris and CO2 reduction. And all of those things have this currency. We're going to need to deal with every building. We're going to need to deal with that long tail. We're going to need to improve them continuously over time. And oh, by the way, people are going to need to like them first and foremost, which I know you're like, wait, when did that become news that people needed to like it? But as you guys have said, that actually is to some degree news. So, all right. This is exactly the kind of conversation. So I'm going to close this out. I want to respect your time and the folks who are listening their time. It has been a pleasure to hear the big picture from Savills, to hear the project team talk about this exemplary project, and to see how it reflects new technology like the things you're working on, Parag. And so we will package this up, and we will share this with other ARC users who are on a journey that is overlapping and adjacent to the one that you guys have been on. And hopefully they can benefit from your experience. We'll make sure that they know how to reach out to you and to get in touch to benefit more directly from your experience. So I want to, on behalf of the ARC community, I want to thank you for your time, and we're going to close it out there. So thank you very much.